Hey there, I'm John with Board Game Geek, and today we have Mike Gnade here from Rock Manor Games. It looks like you have The Few and Cursed here to show us.
Yep. So The Few and Cursed is a deck-building adventure game. It is based on the independent comic of the same name. So this is actually a partnership with the independent creators of the Few and Cursed comic book. And in that comic book, the water on Earth evaporated. It was a supernatural event. It's not really known why or how. That hasn't been divulged in the comics, and Felipe hasn't told me the real reason yet, despite my imploring him. So I don't know why, but I know there is a reason, and he's eventually going to get to it in the series of stories. But the supernatural event happened, and as a result of having a lack of water, not only is water our currency in the game, but humans, to survive with so little water, have actually started delving into the dark arts of the supernatural to survive. Mm-hmm. So that's what this game's about. You take the role of a curse chaser, and you're trying to build up the most infamy or fame by doing your deeds and doing certain actions and things around the board to accumulate those victory points. We call it grit. You're tough and gritty in this game, but it's basically victory points.
Okay.
One of the big mechanics that I like to point out in the game is it is deck building, so everyone has their own unique deck, starter deck. So unlike other deck builders where you may have 7 of one thing and 3 of the other, and I also have 7 of one and 3 of the other, each character is completely different. So as Jebediah, I have less curse in my deck than you do.
Okay.
Because I'm a pure spirit in the comics to represent sort of the character.
Okay.
You can see some of the art where he's
very
a pious.
Yes.
He's a pious person. So he starts with less curse. But his curse threshold is also a lot lower, and this game's all about pushing this curse up and down with the things you do, because if you push it too far, and reach or surpass this threshold, these character cards actually flip over, and you transform into sort of those same monsters you're hunting down.
Okay.
So in Jebediah's case, he becomes sort of a ghost. Everyone has unique penalties that affect their character differently. But on your turn, you're playing these cards to generate, movement and attack, or more water, and that's going to allow you to move around the board to get to, bounties like this. Then you can spend those attack to try to capture these bounties. Mm-hmm. There's also always sort of the wanted goons. These are sort of the never-ending supply of minions and comic books that you just beat up and kill.
Yeah.
And as you defeat them, they flip over, and their rewards and costs sort of change.
So they keep flipping throughout the whole game.
Yep. So they'll keep flipping, and I may attack this guy, and that may mess you up because you're going after me, and you need to take the same person.
Yeah.
These are all the unique the most wanted bounties are the unique people that you take, and it's like it's a completed, captured thing that you would store for scoring later, but you do take the points immediately. The other things you can do for points is you can get these powerful artifacts. You can visit these corner spots, and if you're there first, you get to pick which artifact you want. And these are really, really powerful cards that go into your deck that do just crazy stuff. You can just sort of see by how many resources they generate or cards they draw or whatever. Mm-hmm. So you're chasing after those artifacts, and then you're also trying to do jobs to help people around town. So you're given these jobs at the beginning of the game sort of secretly, and you're going to pick what type of what jobs you're going to do and what jobs you're going to take on. Mm-hmm. And when these jobs are completed, you also score points. So doing those is a big thing. And then a big thing of the game, and the big thing I wanted to capture when I designed the game, is it's obviously based on a comic book. So there's a lot of story involved in the game. Mm-hmm. And I actually was allowed to write all those encounters up there. So we have cursed encounters, which are more epic and have some beautiful art. But basically, there's some choose your own adventure where each of these slots give you choices. And I actually wrote all of these adventures. So every round when you're outside of the town exploring, you're going to have to draw an encounter card and read what it says based on where you're located, whether it's desert or ruins. And it always gives you a choice. Mm-hmm. And then the cursed encounters give you 3 choices. One of them is always really bad. So there's also ways that you can acquire new cards, earn victory points in that case, or take some damage.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a competition to be the most infamous sort of gunslinger in what is the Wild West in this world, which is the desert of the Pacific Ocean.
Sure. One thing you mentioned back in the beginning is that this is a deck building game. Could you explain how the deck building works?
Sure. So you'll notice there's no market to purchase from, because we're gunslingers, where it's a comic book, it's actiony. So the way you deck build, we call it the improvisation phase. And what you do is you just draw 2 cards from the top of the upgrade deck, and you pick which one you want, and you add it right to your hand.
And you do that at the start of each turn?
Start of each turn. I guess it's sort of broken up like rounds. So
yeah.
We both would improvise at the same time, then I would take my turn, you would take your turn.
So you're constantly adding more cards to your deck.
And the best thing about it too is it's right to your hand. So, you know, you only draw 4 cards, and you would be saying, what can I, you know, while you're taking your turn, I'm planning out, what am I going to do on my next turn?
Right.
And man, I can almost do this one thing. If I got that, if I just had one more movement, you know, I could do it. And then that's something you can take into the next round when you're drafting or improvising. You can look for that card you really need and add it right to your hand.
Okay.
And the same thing goes for when you get these artifacts. When you acquire these artifacts, they come straight to your hand too, and you're able to use them immediately.
Yeah.
So that's what the Few and Curse is about. There's a lot of different actions you can take and strategies.
And what's the release date for this one looking like?
It's going to be Q3 of this year.
Okay.
So I'm hoping for an Origins release, but it'll certainly be out by Gen Con.
Okay.
Your character does upgrade as you play too, so you have the ability to sort of customize your character.
Sure.
And build up you know, better curse resistance, or acquire these shop items to help you with you know, your damage dealing, or your bullet firing, your gunslinging.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways you can sort of go about earning your infamy in this game, and it's about, you know, making the best decision with the hand you have, as opposed to, you know, following one path really strongly.
Right. All right. Well, thanks, Mike, for showing us the Few and Cursed, and keep an eye out for this one later on in the year. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for having me, and it's always a pleasure to see you, John. And
thanks for watching.